See, I look like an extra from a horror film here, and that's okay, because it just peels right off. Fortunately, it takes the arm here with it. Well, it's time to do some more painting on the patio here at the Pit Stop Ranch. As you can see, I'm already into it. I'll show you the first coat and how sloppy and poor of a job I did, and show you all the areas where I definitely see I could do a lot better. This is a continuation of our Learn As You Do series. A lot of this stuff we have done before. We've experienced doing. We shot, as you saw, we shot a bunch of the panels already months ago. Now we're shooting the rest of the cab and stuff since all the work's done on it. I have noticed a couple little areas that could use a touch up, but fortunately we can still do a little body work on top of the primer. That's not a problem. Feels like a little bit of a dip right here, because it would seem. Every Sunday for the last 3 weeks, it has been my goal to put primer on Jimmy. Except every single time, I keep running into little things that need a little addressing, a little fine-tuning to get right. And the punch list to the actual work of spraying never seems to get any shorter. So here's the montage of me doing all the fine-tuning and taking care of the fiddly details, cleaning everything up, making it presentable. One of the big things was to go through and remove any of the little bit of surface rust, at least the scaly amount of it, that kind of started accumulating on everything here and there as we waited to get around to actually shooting it. Now on my lean-to is some structure that I can hang things to for painting, and I wanted to hang the doors up, so here I am making some hangers out of baling wire. Now of course it needed to be a lot stronger than basic baling wire, so I made twisted some baling wire up. Now this is me fighting with the door to go ahead and hang it, and it was a little bit of a struggle doing it by myself, but it wasn't a problem. I got it. Now there's a lot of prep in the general area around where you want to shoot needs to happen, clearing all the large objects and stuff out of the way, sweeping up the big debris and trying to get rid of the dust and dirt and crap as much as possible, so that you don't kick it up and get it into the paint. Now the joy of a patio paint job is you regardless you're going to get crap in the paint. Of course you got to mask off the areas that you don't want to get painted, and minimize the overspray to those areas as well. And of course, engine compartment, being a GM, the engine compartment is always black. You can do body color if you so wish, but because things were in the way, I chose to mask off the engine compartment, as you can see here. And an important step is to try and blow as much of the crap and corruption out of the work area as possible. I can very well attest I was mostly successful, but mostly doesn't really count. Using this as degreaser, probably not approved, probably not a good idea, but this is what we're going to use as a degreaser and final rub down. An important step is to wipe down all of the surfaces and remove any residual dust that didn't come off with the blower, air gun. The second thing you want to do is remove any grease, like hand grease and automotive grease, and oil, so that the paint will actually stick to the metal. Another important dust control methodology is to hose down the area and try and wash away the dust, but also to wet down the area so any dust that remains or comes back is suspended in the water and not in the air. Okay, this is where I set up the workstation with the various chemicals. Mixing bowls. This one here is set up as a cleaning station. Have the thinner for the primer, which is a heavy duty red high solids primer. And I got some acetone for cleaning everything up. And there's the hardener. Kind of jerry-rigged vise up to hold the gun. How I've been cleaning it is I fill about the quarter way up with the thinner and just squirt it until it's empty, and then do about the same with acetone to clean up everything. Good. It'll need a good disassembly and soak once I'm done, but that's how that is currently. I do that between shots. This is my main compressor. It is not enough to do a paint job, so we built this contraption. It has all the separators and oil reducers and cleanup. That's where the main compressor gets blown in. This is where the secondary compressor adds additional oomph and power. And here's my small backup compressor to help out with the main compressor. They kick on at different times. Now it is time to put some paint on. I went ahead and sped up all of the painting to 10 times the speed so that I can go ahead and cover this important and interesting but not terribly enthralling material as quick as possible. While painting, I tried to go ahead and get to the difficult to access, what would be difficult to access over previously painted. Also at this time, I was kind of teaching myself how to use the gun, and of course kind of challenging. I know maybe shooting something else a little less crucial at first would be a better choice, but you know, that's the breaks. The settings were off throughout the effort, and I would get sputtering. I'd get every now and then a little break in this flow of paint, which would create a thin spot, and then I'd try and go over those areas with and end up overshooting certain areas and getting little runs. And I even occasionally drug the hose over an area and shot again, and ended up with sloughing off and running. I tried to hit the edges first because that's just the nature of it. It's going to be thin there, so I wanted to make sure I hit the edges before going onto the big surfaces. While shooting this, it was a challenge because I was by myself, and shooting and filming meant I had to stop and move the camera. Now I use a 2-camera system, but it still resulted in odd angles and so forth, so it was a challenge. Now I'd shot most of the cab inside and out before I did the roof, and unfortunately it made getting a good coat on the roof quite a bit of a challenge, because I didn't want to be touching where I'd already shot. Here I am shooting the doors, trying to get into all the little nooks and crannies, and all around to get nice even coverage, even though I was struggling with the gun a little bit in the first coat. I went ahead and shot both sides of the doors evenly, completely, so that it's all in primer, and hopefully going to turn out really good, as so far it is. One of the challenges with the doors being hung up the way they are, it makes it easy to get most of them, but right around where the cabled up baling wire is it made a challenge right there, and it actually trying to move him around a little bit damaged him a little bit. Additionally, you notice the one pillar right behind the one door made it a challenge to shoot the back side of it. And here's the sun coming out of the southern sky, beating down on me the entire time shooting. Okay, first coat is on. It's thick in some areas, thin in other areas, because I don't know what I'm doing. Drug the hose across it a few times in a few different places. Let's put it on thin in other places. Had the settings wrong, so I'll get real inconsistent coverage. But that's what the second coat. We put on, got a few runs. Also, for some reason on this door, I got a couple areas where I got schmutz. And, I mean, this is the joy of a patio paint job, is that crap right there. So, now it's got a little bit of a texture to it. I suspect it's what painters say it's shooting dry. Maybe I think I need more. Maybe a little more thinner and a little bit more paint coming out, missed areas, but it's consistently one color now. It looks a lot better. My first extended time using the paint gun, so I'm getting used to it and learning how to. Problem is, it's such a extreme lighting situation. I got to keep going back and forth in the filters. But it's one color, at least. Of course, there's plenty of crap for me to trip on, and noticing all sorts of little flaws and foibles that, fortunately, I mean, the idea here is to get this paint on to seal it, and then we can come back and fix anything that we come across that we don't like. Ow! The second coat went much faster. I had to make a few changes to the gun. One, the pressure was way too high for the gun to work properly. Second, I thinned the primer a little bit, though not a lot. And I upped the nozzle size because this is a high solids primer. It wasn't quite the largest nozzle, but now it is. So now it should shoot well. And it did. It shoot a lot better. And then I adjusted, made a few minor other changes, increased the paint flow as well as changed the fan size slightly. But the coverage was much better and it went really fast. So it was much relieving. Okay, have about a third the way through the second coat. Already I'm out. I got 2 cups. The first coat took 2 cups, but now I've got I think I've got the adjustments on the gun a little better. So, but I'm going through the paint a lot faster. Anyway, I like that coat so far. The second coat's going a lot better than the first coat. It's less work, it's better coverage. I think it's going to look a lot better. I'm still going to have to clean up the runs, but you know, it's going to be a little bit of love with the sandpaper. No big deal. Inside is shot with the second coat mostly. I still got to finish up some floor area, but and then I got the roof done because I didn't want to be trying to do that last. So the rest of it shouldn't take too much more paint. Anyways. And as the sun's starting to go low in the sky, I'm finishing up the second coat, and it is really starting to look good. I still got a lot of runs in places that I'll need to address with some 180 grit sandpaper, and then move on from there. There's also a lot of little flaws that I'll need to address with a little bit of putty, and the plan is to go ahead and hit with the red oxide high fill primer over all of it to hit all the little stuff I'm still missing. but I think at the end it's going to be a really high quality base coat to then shoot the color coat on. Okay, here's some photos of after it's done and some of the stuff that got trapped into the paint as I was painting it. The joys of a patio paint job. Not a huge deal. I'll lightly touch them with some sandpaper to knock them out. Here's a bad run area that I'll need to clean up. Alright, the gun is soaking, taken apart and soaking. And 2 coats are on. The second coat way better. Way better. First coat, settings weren't quite right. Pressure was too high. There was a wrong nozzle. The thing was cranked down a little tight. Second time around, both batches I added a little extra thinner, thinned it a little bit more than was suggested. Not recommended, but suggested. And with the bigger nozzle and the other fittings diddled with a little bit. It came out so nice, so even. Then I could just concentrate on focusing on my technique instead of trying to go back and cover and recover all the areas where I got. So now it actually burned through paint a little faster, I think. But I think the results are a lot better. I mean, it's still see scratches and little problem areas, but probably go over it once with like 300 grit, and then maybe hit it with some high build primer, and then go over it again with 300 grit, and it'll be ready for color coat. But it's all in one color, and yeah, there are a couple little flaws here and there that I think typical first-timers paint job type problems. But actually, I'm kind of happy with it. I'm pretty proud of it. For one thing, I had an excellent learning opportunity. Learned how to use the gun a lot better, improved the technique. Anyway, I'm getting tired. I'm starting to ramble. I still got a bunch of cleanup to do before I can crack open adult beverage for the evening. But we're getting close. Great thing is, all the bare metal on the cab and the doors is covered in high solids sealing primer. So with weather supposedly coming in here in a couple of days, where rain's supposed to be coming in a couple of days, I won't have to worry about having to undo a bunch of rust again, fix a bunch of rust again. Anyways, hope you enjoyed another rousing episode of Painting on the Patio. I've been your host, Matt, and if you like what we do, please hit the like button, and if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And until next time, have a paint-tastic day.